Brute facts and their transcendence. Verse 37. The other is replete with difficulty, and it is hard to win over without the power to discriminate the unbroken. Having won over the difficult, attain to that discrimination which is opposed to sense interests. Commentary. What we seek is peace, the peace that can be associated with unbroken happiness. Where there is unbroken happiness, there is also peace. This can be true only if the happiness is founded on truth. Truth does not change. What is true today should be true tomorrow also. Thus, truth is consistent and continuous. Truth has an inner homogeneity, and if you are experiencing it, naturally you will be in a state of harmony. Love is a state of great harmony. Stress or hatred is opposed to that harmony. Peace is opposed to restlessness. Harmony is opposed to disharmony. Truth is opposed to untruth. Beingness is opposed to becoming. Thus, we see there is the paradox of a dichotomy in our life, and we are looking for a solution by which we can get over it. When our consciousness operates, a dichotomy arises from the very heart of it. One half of it is experienced as I, and the other half is experienced as this. Another way to think of it is I and the other. The other, unlike I, manifests as manifold units. We can say, this is my friend, this is a pot, this is my hand, this is knowledge. In all these we are referring to this. And what is this? It is a very indistinct thing. We only know what qualifies this. If we take away all the qualifications, this becomes too difficult to grasp. The whole world is a proliferation of this. So we can either say that is this or this is that. At a distance, they are not two. The idea of this enters into the mind and goes on bifurcating consciousness into many units. The net result is that it brings interaction between the I consciousness in us and thisness. The I consciousness is not just a philosophical idea. It is socially structured with an egoistic status. This ego is monitored by our changing moods. Sometimes it is in a sublime state, sometimes it is in a passionate mood, and sometimes it is very depressed. It is not always the same. Its moods create a quality within our interactions, which very often take away our peace. There are a number of things which we are exposed to in our lives, over which we do not have full control. It is very peaceful to have a sound sleep, but if the mind is disturbed, sleep won't come. You cannot force yourself to sleep. If you just say, "Let me sleep," it doesn't work. The mind has to become subdued from inside. The upsurges of consciousness have to become quiet. Of course, you can take a sleeping pill, but that is a kind of a temporary suicide. You are killing your system with some poisonous medicine for a little while. You can also use the same medicine to put an end to all your misery by killing yourself completely. But then you have a permanent suicide. Natural death doesn't come like that. You cannot die at will, although you can kill yourself at will. But we are not planning to do any killing. If we die gracefully. Like that, sleeping gracefully is different from forcing ourselves to sleep with pills. How does sleep come? Nature has a rhythm. When solar energy goes to the other side of the earth, we, being heliotropic people, experience a waning of energy. Activities become subdued, and sleep comes. If the mind is stimulated, either with stimulants or with thoughts, motivations, urges, or passions, it will continue to be lively. Natural sleep is a blessing which comes only from inside. Like that, we cannot forcefully love anyone. All religions exhort us to love. But if I walk into my neighbor's house saying, Jesus said to love my neighbor as myself, I have come here to love you, they will probably get very annoyed and tell me to mind my own business. So you cannot force your love on anyone. It has to come in a very natural way. If someone comes and says, I love you very much, that's okay. But if they were to say, I love you so much, why do you reject me? I can't help that. If you love me, I should also feel something reciprocal. And in this case, I don't. One can't pressure another. Love comes only spontaneously. Of course, you can create a situation in which love may grow, but all you can do is to be available and wait for love to come. It is like sleep. Both are natural occurrences. Peace is also a natural thing that has to come by itself. Concentration is a natural thing. You cannot concentrate just by straining your eyes. Swamis from India may come and say, look at this candle, put it on a stand at eye level and stare at it. Or they will ask you to breathe in a certain way. When you get exhausted from breathing hard, what else can you do but lie back? You might imagine you have gained something. The world is full of trickery. Someone finds out a way to trick your nervous system, and then they sell it and patent the technique. But there is nothing spiritual about any of these things. The real issue here is how to win over Anya. Anya means the tendency of proliferating otherness. We are disturbed only because of this Anya, this otherness. Wherever otherness comes, it interacts with the I in us, affecting our balance. If the other is not there, our I has nothing to fight with. The cancellation of the other and the ego brings peace. And how can we cancel out the effect of the other? The I and the other must be unified. By knowing what constitutes the I is the same reality as that which constitutes the other brings unification. We can also know that this I is a fantasized modification of consciousness, and the other is a fantasized projection of consciousness. Both are false. Once we know that neither the I nor the other exist, there is no trouble. But it is not as easy as it sounds. We have a body, and the body is equipped with its senses. Each sense organ brings a different kind of stimulus, which acts upon our system. Many chain reactions come just looking at a thing, say, or hearing a word. Thus, we are bombarded from all sides with stimuli. In that bombardment, it is next to impossible to sit quiet and calm. Let us briefly catalogue the difficulties we have with this. It begins with this exposure to stimuli, which create a number of reactions in us. Secondly, our mind gets into certain whirlpools. These mental whirlpools are called worries. We are exposed to two main kinds of worries. One is retrospective remorse, and the other is prospective anxiety. Retrospective remorse comes in the form of guilt. I have done such and such a bad thing. Now what can I do? My self-image or my social image is tarnished. I am no longer the same honored person in the eyes of my friends. Society is now suspicious of me. My integrity is questioned. Nobody will accept me as an honorable person anymore. I have lost something precious in my life. I am deceived, cheated, defeated. We become bitter over our remorseful remembrances of the past, and we feel worthless, annoyed, angry, or vulnerable. We also suffer from prospective worries, such as feelings of insecurity. Our calculations have gone wrong. We see new factors rising up which we are uncertain about. We do not know how to deal with the new situation. The stock market may drop unexpectedly. Someone may corner the market on some product or raw material and make the supply dry up. If tomorrow the Egyptian president gets angry and closes the Suez Canal, all the shipping in the world will have to be rerouted, and all the world's trade will be delayed. The same thing could happen in Panama. Some fool can even do something to unhinge the whole world, and who knows, maybe someone is planning a sneak attack on us. All these worries are in people's minds, but they can affect the whole world by making us act in certain ways. We are living in a society. We are not separate individuals who can fully insulate our lives from the onslaught of social trickeries. So we are afraid of the next one. How can we ever get out of these whirlpools of worry? They are empirically valid. They are not entirely our fantasies. Another category of difficulty is the deep urges and passions in us that create various kinds of hungers. The hunger of the body itself is a great problem for the world. There are so many countries where the hunger for food is a daily experience. The hunger of the mind and of physical passions can be even worse than physical hunger, in the sense that it can drive you to act inappropriately, to be a victim of your own drives. I have young friends who are very much troubled because of their sex problems. They have not found a proper person to relate to, and so it has become a terrible conundrum. There are some others who have a hunger to be intellectually or spiritually nourished. They write me that they do not have a proper person around to talk to, with whom they can discuss anything serious, valuable, philosophical, or spiritual. They feel as if they are in an arid desert land where there are no worthwhile values. We could go on multiplying this catalogue of the blues of life, but what we need to know is the way out. Even a small pinprick in one of your toes is enough to affect you totally, taking you out of your mental and physical balance for at least a little while. Your body can develop so many kinds of diseases. It is actually a great wonder that most of us at least seem to be sane. It is easy to go insane in this world, yet there is still a fair amount of sanity left. Anya, this differentiating factor, is always running amok and creating problems for us. In fact, the whole world is in an eternal state of strife because of otherness. The Guru says that somehow we have to triumph over this great fear of the other and bring all to a sameness. He gives us a key idea here, Vishaya Virodhini, that which is opposed to a sensual orientation. Vishayam means projecting the source of your happiness onto a thing and thinking it is the thing that makes you happy. Therein lies the crux of the problem. Once you think, without this thing I can never be happy, you have already alienated your happiness. You have created a chasm between your present state and a prospective future where happiness can be encountered. By default, you have decided that at this moment you are not at all happy. You can be so only in the future. You feel that somehow you have to move away from the present to the future, and you won't be happy until then. You worry that you might miss this thing in the future in which your happiness is invested, and that your search will be a total failure and an absolute disappointment for you. Thus we alienate our happiness and postpone it via the Vishaya of the object of happiness. If, on the other hand, you know that you are the source of all happiness, and there is nothing to seek on the outside, the outer thing becomes associated with happiness only because you allow it to participate in your happiness. Discrimination is the key to making this happen. What kind of discrimination? The Guru says, Akhanda Viveka Shakti. It is not a discrimination which makes a thing different from you, but a discrimination which makes something also you, or you also that. It is a unifying discrimination, not a separating one. If this and this and this can all be brought under this with a capital T, and then this and I are brought together as one, then you get it. This is the reason Narayana Guru asked us in the very first verse to see the common link between the outer world and the inner world, which he described as Karu, a universal consciousness which is the divine manifester of everything. He said we should withhold our senses and prostrate before that again and again. He asked us to look at the unlit light which shines within us. All that we see may look different, but it is the same light. When we turn to that light and allow it to guide us, we get Akhanda Viveka Shakti, an unbroken sense of discrimination. Throughout all these verses, the Guru has been telling us how we can get over our troubles. Back in the 13th verse, he said, look at that Supreme One, which transcends the three modalities, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Pick the flowers of your mind and offer them to that Divine One. Turn your senses inward. Cool the feverishness of your life. Get your obligations unwound. Merge into the glory of that. He told us of the blessed grace that comes to us like a flood, which fills the desert land and turns every grain of sand into a precious stone. He also told us to offer the flowers of our mind to the divine, if possible. If not, we should make a program of actual worship and expression of devotion, or we should philosophically meditate on great dictums to get over the illusions of life. The ultimate thing is to become Saumya, which means finding the quietness within you. It is by attaining Sama, sameness, that you become quiet inside. This is to be cultivated throughout. Each day begins a new series of encounters. Each encounter is to be taken as a challenge to re-establish your inner serenity, inner quietness, inner sense of sameness through an act of adoration, an attitude of worship, and a sense of the sublime. There is no need for you to win all the time. Your greater victory lies in your acceptance of defeat. Allow the other to win. You may be in an argument. What does it matter if you win or not? Give the other person the chance to win. Even if he uses some falsehood, when you allow him to win, he rethinks the situation. In his heart of hearts, he knows he did not deserve the victory. He knows the truth of your silence. You do not become egoistic, and you don't make the other person egoistic either. It will chastise him as well as purify him. Thus, through the cultivation of silence, sameness, and serenity, you come to have a unitive understanding from within. This brings peace and harmony. Where there is peace and harmony, love spontaneously comes. When you give yourself into the hands of grace, the hands of the divine, things which are difficult to attain become abundantly possible. Then you can say you have attained the discrimination of the unbroken, by which every this is brought under the spell of the universal sameness. And the free translation of verse 37 is as follows. It is hard to win over the obduracy of the other without having achieved a vivid vision which leaves nothing outside of it. By conquering the power of the indistinctiveness of this, which forces consciousness to split into specificity, one should gain the wisdom of integral unity. That alone will gain one access to pure wisdom, which leaves no room either to objectivize or to have the agency of a subject.